Hello and welcome to Stories That Shape Us. My name is Joanna Daniel. In this today and perhaps tomorrow of Stories That Shape Us, I'm going to talk about grooming. I did a short video for my Instagram and Facebook followers, and this video was posted on my WhatsApp status, and I got a lot of questions about the video, about when it comes to grooming. People wanted to know more so that they could keep themselves safe and understand, sometimes the dynamics in relationships and what's happening. Now, many times we perhaps believe that only children can be groomed, but adults can be groomed too. And there's really one thing that is one thing to pay attention to that might make you more vulnerable, and not necessarily more vulnerable than anybody, because I believe that anybody is vulnerable to grooming. It's just that sometimes we might be able to catch it quicker than other people, and so less likely to be hurt because we can catch it faster, right? But I don't think predators they can attack anyone. So, but there's this one thing that is really important to consider. When you struggle with boundaries, it might make you more vulnerable if you struggle with boundaries. Because one of the things that groomers do or predators do is ignore boundaries, right? So they push hard against boundaries, they ignore boundaries. And so when you already don't have any boundaries in place, this can really make you stand out. So they'll be able to spot that vulnerability, they'll be able to spot that opening and use it as a way to get in, to create some wedge and some room for themselves to come in and to create havoc in your life. So it's really important to be able to understand boundaries, to be able to know what your boundaries are and the things that are important to you and the areas in your life that you want a boundary, so that you can begin to put them in place and just fortify yourself. So if you consider boundaries as if you have a fence around your house, around your property, and if there's a part of that fence that is weak, then you have to go and fix it. If it's broken for any reason, lots of animals can get in your property. Anybody can just walk in because that part of your fence is broken. And that's what boundaries are. It's a protection for you. And when there's any part of it that is unprotected, then that is where they'll walk in. So it's important to know what are the things that I'd like to boundary, and begin to be able to put those things in place to protect yourself. Now, I did a whole series on the podcast around boundaries, around some of the things that you can boundaries. I did boundaries on the Christian woman, and I looked at confidence, I looked at self-esteem. And so you can go back on the podcast and you can find those conversations around those stories around boundaries and listen to them again and begin to put those in place. And after that, I did boundaries, confidence, and self-esteem for Christian women. I'm going to put that where you can get that resource below this video. And I did a 6-week workshop on boundaries for Christian women. So when we have boundaries, it really helps us to be able to protect ourselves. So what are some of those areas that we want to be able to be boundaried? We want to be able to say what we mean, to say it without feeling guilty. And sometimes as Christian women, we have a lot of guilt that we struggle with. And so that stops us from putting boundaries in place, because we feel lots of religious guilt. We feel other types of guilt when we have to say no to someone. We have to be very clear with our instructions, what we require from someone. When we're very clear about the things that we will and won't do, sometimes that can be a challenge. And sometimes when we've experienced trauma in childhood where our boundaries were never respected, we were never taught how to put them in place. When that's the case, it also makes it a little bit more challenging. And I said a little bit more challenging because I believe that even though it can be challenging, we can learn. And as long as we recognize that there's something that needs doing, we can learn how to do it, and we can do it. We can put it in place, and we can protect ourselves. So when you recognize, like, look across your life, is boundaries something that you struggle with? If you know that you struggle with boundaries, I would start there to learn how am I letting people in my life without not only vetting them, but without giving them, without being protective of myself in the first instance. And what are some of those things that I can begin to do to protect myself? What are the things that are important to me? Was I ever allowed boundaries? How comfortable am I setting boundaries? You might need some help and some support in putting some boundaries in place if you are struggling. And I always say anger is not good boundaries, or isolation, shut down yourself, withdrawal. Those are not good boundaries, because what happens in those cases is that people because we need people and we were created to connect, we can't live on our own. What often happens is it's unhealthy people who really don't mean you any good and would like to harm that gets in. Because we need people, when we withdraw, we put walls up and we shut down, inevitably those are the people that comes in, not the healthy people. Because the healthy people, they'll respect your wall. They won't force your wall down. They won't force the issue. They won't push their way into your life. But the people who are disrespectful of boundaries will push their way in your life. And this is where predators can have little openings to come in, right? Because you might say, one of the things that predators will do is to not the boundary of, for example, not calling somebody late at night. A predator won't respect that. They'll call you at any time. Now, if you don't have safe boundaries and you feel guilt in regards to boundaries, you will pick the phone up. You'll answer. You'll answer them at 12 o'clock at night, and you'll have 2 hour conversations, even though you don't want to. You don't want to be on the phone for 2 hours at 12 o'clock, but you will pick the phone up. You'll answer the call because you're struggling to say no. You're struggling to put boundary in place. You will respond and you will do it. And so now they know that you'll do these things, and so they'll keep doing it. Another thing they'll do is turn up at your house unannounced, unplanned, unscheduled, but they'll turn up. And because you will open the door, and because you let them in, and because you won't ask them to leave, they'll do it. And they'll do it again and again and again, because now they know that that's an opening, and you won't say no, and you won't tell them how you feel, and you won't ask them to leave. So they'll keep coming. They'll keep coming. So we want to learn how to say things, I think to boundary around your time is, what time is your cutoff to take phone calls? Do you have a cutoff time to take phone calls? What time is that? Do you allow people to just turn up to your house? And if they do you open the door? Because you don't have to open the door. You can have a cutoff time to phone calls, and you don't have to accept the call. You don't have to return the text message. You don't have to do any of those things. So you consider for those things, those for yourself. How do I feel when somebody does something? Am I comfortable saying it, or do I just let them do it and get away with it and I don't speak? How do I feel about that? So think about those areas for yourself. So that's the number one thing that sometimes will get people in. And the number one area that you need to begin to shore up as we look tomorrow, as we look at some of the other ways that adults can be groomed, I want you to focus first on your boundaries. Are your boundaries intact? Are they safe? Are you able to say no? Are you able to self-advocate? Can you speak up on your own behalf? Because sometimes predators can be people in our authority in your life, with religious authority or other authority. Can be your doctor or your pastor or your leader or somebody in the community of good standing. So it's important. So check with those things. Check with your boundaries today. Have a look at them. Fix where things need to be fixed. If none is in place, get the audio series, the 3-part audio series about Christian women and boundaries, and learn how to set boundaries. Build the confidence to set the boundaries so that you can protect the areas of your life that is unprotected at the moment. Thank you for joining me in Stories That Shape Us. Before I go, I want to let you know that we have 2 days. Today and tomorrow is the final day for early bird booking for the Come See a Man conference. If you have not gotten your tickets yet, remember you have to register within this time to get the early bird price. After tomorrow, the 1st of March, early bird pricing is gone and the price goes up. And I can tell you the room's going to be full. Don't miss out. Don't miss out on this opportunity to start or to continue or to add to your journey of healing. We're looking forward to seeing you in the room. If you're abroad, if you're not in the UK and you'd like to join via Zoom, via a virtual platform, please also email me at joanna@wolfcards.com and we will send you the registration link for the online version of the event. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow where we'll continue the conversation around grooming.